In this video, I'll be showing you how to customize the solid viewport shading in Blender, and we'll be going over all the different settings of the viewport shading. And customizing the viewport shading can be really useful, especially if you have a very large scene and you want it to be easier to see the objects in the scene. So this here is the project files from my low poly isometric kitchen tutorial. If you want to check out that tutorial series, I'll have a link to it in the description. But I do want to improve the viewport because there's a lot of objects here, but it might be kind of hard to see some of the objects. For example, these plates here, if I kind of zoom out, they might be a little bit hard to tell some of the objects apart because the shading kind of looks the same. Also, some of these drawers, it's kind of hard to see where the drawer ends and where the back of it starts. If I kind of move up here, you can kind of see that, but the shading looks the same because like this face here and this face here, they're pointed in the same direction, so it's kind of hard to see the edge. So one really useful thing you can do to tell the objects apart are to change the material colors. So if I just select one of these objects, I'm just going to select this apple color, and if you click here to go to the material properties, you can scroll down and you can open up viewport display, and then you can choose a color. So I might make this a red color. Let's scroll back up here. I'll choose the next apple color, and I can make this another red color. Let's maybe click on the blender here, and I can choose like the glass, and on the viewport display I'll make this like a blue color. You can see the window is also that glass. Let's also click on the shelves here, and for the shelves I'll make the viewport display kind of like an orange color. So already you can see it's a lot easier to tell the objects apart because many of them have different colors. So this is a really nice way to customize the viewport. Now if you're in the solid view and you click here on the arrow, there's going to be a bunch of settings for the viewport shading, and you can see right here there is color type. So we have it set to material, so that's going to use the viewport material. There's also object, so with this there's just going to be white. There's also attribute, but we don't have any color attributes in the scene. We also just have a single color, and then you can use this to just create a single color if you want to do that. You can also choose random, and random is very useful, especially if you have a lot of objects with a really large scene. So it's really easy to tell all the objects apart. This is a really quick way just to get all the objects to have different colors. And then there's also texture. So this one works with some objects, but it doesn't work with all objects. So you can see like this here, it grabbed the cutting board texture from the wood, but if you're using like a procedural texture, it really doesn't work that well. You can see like this here, it for some reason used the normal map. It used the normal map of the wood instead of like the brown color wood texture. So I don't use it that much because I just find it's not that useful and hard to customize. So personally for this scene, I really like using random because all the objects have a random color and they're just kind of like a nice kind of faded color. They're not like too saturated, so I'll just leave it at random. Now on the viewport shading, let's jump up here to the top setting, which is the lighting, and then we'll go down and go over all the settings. So with the lighting here, there is studio, there is matte cap, and there is flat. So flat isn't going to have any viewport shading, so you can see there's just these plain colors here. So for most things, that's really not very useful. Then there is matte cap, and so this is going to create kind of like a fake lighting. So this isn't actually lighting the scene. Basically what it's doing is it's making the different directions of the faces have different colors. So it's kind of like some fake lighting. So it kind of looks like in this matte cap here that there's a light on this side and it's shining down, because you can see like right here on this face here, it's a bit lighter, but then here on the other side, it's a bit darker. So it appears as though there's a light coming down from this direction. And so every matte cap is going to be a little bit different. So if I click here on the arrow and then click on matte cap, you're not going to see all of these matte caps because I've created my own matte caps and installed my own matte caps. And if you do want to learn how to add in your own matte caps in Blender and also create your own matte caps, then I do have a tutorial on how to download, install your own matte caps in Blender, and also how to create your own matte caps. So I'll have a link to that video in the description. It's one of my older videos on my channel, so if I get a lot of requests for it, maybe I'll make an updated video on how to create your own matte caps for Blender. But it's really easy to add in your own matte caps. So really this is kind of overkill. You really don't need this many matte caps. For most things, I just use maybe like a light one like this. Something like that is just fine. And then also there is studio. So with studio, there's just going to be a few more kind of white ones, and I really like these. These are pretty useful. Now, if you've chosen the matte cap view, you can also click on the arrows here, which is going to flip it. So that's basically going to flip the lighting. So instead of the light being over on the left side, it's now over on the right side. You can kind of tell because like there's the white light there. There's kind of that highlight. So you know that it's going to be on the left side or the right side. And with the studio, there's also this cool rotation. So it's grayed out, but if I click on the world here, now there's a rotation, so I can kind of rotate this around, so I can kind of customize the light for my scene. So that's pretty cool as well. Now the next option is the wire color. So this is going to be the wireframes. So what I'm going to do first is click here on this drop down. This is on the overlays, and then I'm going to choose wireframe. So if you want to see the wireframe of your object, this is how you do that. And then you can click here on the shading and you can go to the wire, and there's theme, which is just black on default. There's also object, and then there's also random. So I really don't use this that much, but if you do want to kind of make some kind of random colors, you could do that. I usually just like leaving it to the theme, which is black. But I'll just click here and then turn off the wireframe. Then we also went over the color settings. There's like material and object and random. I'll set it to random. Now, as well as that, there's also the background color. So I'll just zoom out here. So with the background, there's theme, and that's the default one. There's also world. So this is going to be the world background. So for example, if I go here to the world, so on the world settings, I will just scroll down and it works just like the objects. So with the objects, there's a viewport display. There's also a viewport display here with the world. So you can say I can take this color and just make it whatever you want. So maybe I'll make it just like a dark blue. So you can use theme or world. And then also there's viewport. And so with this, you can just easily add a color. So that's super useful just for quickly adding a color. Now the next setting is back face culling. And this is going to hide the back faces. So for example, I've just added a plane, and you can see if I go here to the back behind the plane, you can see the back face of the plane is invisible, but the front is still visible. So not very useful for too many things, but occasionally you might find it pretty useful. If you just don't want to see the back faces, it might be useful because every face in Blender has a front face and a back face. So for this scene here, you can mostly just see the front faces, but for example, like this towel is actually invisible on the back, so you can turn on the back face culling if you need to. Now there's also X-ray, and X-ray is very useful for seeing through your objects. So this is especially helpful if you're doing like some complex modeling. So for example, I'm just going to add like a cube, move it over here. I'll duplicate the cube and move it over here. So now if I go to the settings and turn off the X-ray, you can see, let's say that I for some reason wanted to be in this view, but then I wanted to like edit this cube. If I go into edit mode, it's kind of hard to see like the vertices. You can turn on the X-ray, and now I can still see the solid view, but I can see through the object. And there's actually a quicker way to get to this, which is this little button here. So you can just toggle the X-ray right there. You can also press Alt-Z. Alt-Z is the shortcut. So now we're getting into some of my favorite settings, like the shadow here. So let's just turn on shadow. So this is very cool for adding kind of like a fake shadow. So if I turn on shadow, I can change the strength of it, so I can make it like really dark. That's cool. It kind of has like a toon style effect where it's like really dark shadows. You can also click on the gear, and if you click on the gear, that will give you a new panel with more settings. So there's the light directions. You can drag the circle around again to kind of make like a fake shadow in the viewport. This isn't actually like real lighting in the scene, but it's just a fake shadow. And then you can also use the shadow shift, which is kind of going to make everything more blended, so everything's more gray, or you can make everything really sharp if you turn the shadow shift down. And there's also the shadow focus, which I like turning this up higher because you can see if it's turned way down, things down there like the cupboards and things are really dark. So if I now turn it up, you can see things look quite a bit better, and there's kind of like a lot more light there. Now, where this is especially useful is if you're working on a big scene like this and you want to be able to make sure that the objects are touching the ground. So sometimes when I'm maybe using like geometry nodes and I'm displacing a bunch of objects on a plane, or a scene like this where I just want to like drop an object on the ground, the shadow can be very useful to make sure the object is actually touching the ground, because you can compare it with the shadow. So I'm going to leave the shadow on, but let's just kind of rotate it so the shadow is mostly from the top, and I'll make the shadow more subtle. Now, one of my favorite settings is the cavity. So let's turn on cavity. So this is sort of going to add like an ambient occlusion effect, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Right now, it doesn't really look like it has ambient occlusion. So on default, the type is set to screen on the cavity, and there's the ridge, which is going to make the edges kind of lighter, and then there's the valley, which is going to make the crevices darker. So if I just look at a complex part, let's just zoom into maybe this blender here, kind of zoom in here. So take a look at the crevices and creases. So here's the ridge, so it makes those ridges lighter, and the valley, you can see it's making those crevices darker. Now you can also change the type here to world instead, and I like world a lot better. So world is definitely adding more of that ambient occlusion effect. So take a look at the back of some of these objects. If I now go here to the cavity set to world, I can change the ridge, so you can kind of see like some of those spots which are closer to the camera, they're a bit lighter, some of those flat open areas. And then if I turn up the valley, you can see kind of like the little creases there are darker. So for example, it's lighter right here on the end of the counter, but then it's really dark here on the back. And also as I move the blender away here, you can see it's getting a bit lighter and then it gets darker because there is an object really close. So this is very, very useful for kind of seeing how close the objects are to each other, and it's just really useful. What I like to do is I like to change it to both, and so now you can change both of them. So let's just kind of play around with this. So I don't want it to be too strong, so maybe I'll turn the ridge and the valley down a bit. Now there's also this little gear here, and you can change the samples. So you can see if you turn the samples down, it looks a bit grainy. So I'm going to turn the samples up a bit. And then there's distance, which I find quite useful. I can turn it way down because it was a little bit too strong. So now that I've turned it down, let's just look right here on the edge here. You can see it's light here, but then it gets darker. Whereas if I click back here, go back to the setting, go to the gear, if I turn the distance up, you can kind of see there's a fading. So you can make it really sharp or you can make it longer. So you can see here it is without the cavity and here it is with the cavity. So it really does pop out all the objects and make it easier to see the shape of the objects. And so this is very useful when you're modeling. Now there's also this depth of field which you can turn on, and so that will actually add a depth of field in the viewport, not just in the rendered mode. Now this is only going to work if you're in the camera view and if you've added a depth of field to your camera. So if you go into the camera view and select the camera, you can go to the camera settings, turn on depth of field, and what I'm going to do is just turn the f-stop way down so the camera has a strong depth of field, and then I'm just going to select like these plates here. Now the problem with this scene is that I set the type to orthographic to kind of give that low poly look, so I'm going to turn it back to perspective, and then I can change the f-stop, turn it way down. So now you can see there's actually a real-time depth of field in the viewport, so that is really cool. I don't use it that often, but you might find it useful if you want to see how the depth of field is looking. Now there's also outline, and the outline should be enabled on default. I believe it is enabled on default, but there's also a color. So if you just want to really be able to tell the objects apart, you could make like the outline fully white, and then you can really see that it really pops the outline out. And then finally, there's specular lighting, which I find specular lighting pretty useful. I definitely would turn it on. Now the specular lighting is grayed out when I'm using the matte cap view, but if I change the lighting back to studio, you can see now it's not grayed out. So it's a little bit hard to see what the specular lighting is doing right now, but for example, I'm going to add an icosphere, and I'm going to turn the subdivisions really high, and then I'm going to shade the icosphere smooth. So you can now see without the specular lighting, everything just looks a bit more flat, but with the specular lighting, it kind of makes it look a bit more plasticky and shiny, and it adds a little bit of a shadow kind of on the edges, and then it adds that highlight on the front. So I definitely like turning that on. So here's the scene that we started with, and then here's the scene with the improved viewport settings. So as you can see, it's a lot easier to see the objects in the scene. So that's how you use the viewport options in Blender. So I hope you found the video helpful, and thank you for watching.